Can you believe it, guys? I was a gangster, and on my first day after transmigrating, the system forced me to donate money to an orphanage. Uncle Bo told me to take my men to attack Tong Sing, but the system hinted that doing good deeds makes me stronger. I figured I'd give it a try, and it just snowballed from there. Taking down drug dealers is a good deed, starting a legitimate company is a good deed, and making donations is definitely a good deed. After half a year, my stats are maxed out. My turf is the biggest, and I have the most money. The police wanted to move against me, but when they checked my accounts, they were stunned. This new boss of Hung Hing ranks 6th among Hong Kong's top 10 philanthropists. The day I transmigrated to 1980s Hong Kong, my whole body ached like I'd been run over by a truck. When I opened my eyes, 2 sets of memories were crammed into my head. One was mine. One belonged to this body. They got all mixed together. It took me a while to figure out what was going on. My name is now Shen Dong, 25 years old, the toughest red pole under Uncle Bo, the boss of Hung Hing's Tumun district. I have over 200 brothers under me, running 4 streets. In my past life, I was a cop. In this life, I'm in a triad. This shift is really something else. And even crazier, I activated a system called the merit exchange system. After reading the system instructions, I was totally dumbfounded. A gang enforcer. Every day, I take my brothers to fight for turf and slash people. This is a life of walking on the edge of a knife, and you want me to do good deeds and accumulate virtue? What kind of joke is that? The system gave me a beginner's gift pack. I opened it and saw 20 free attribute points, master level Xingyi Quan, advanced marksmanship, plus an attribute panel. Physique, strength, speed, spirit average person has 10 points. I immediately raised them to 14. All right, this gift pack was indeed solid. For the first week, I ignored that system and just did my thing. Until one day, I was in a fierce fight with the Dongxing gang. With one slash, I took out a small-time boss named Song Biao. Suddenly, the system popped up. Congratulations to the host for eliminating a scourge and saving sentient beings. Reward, 100 good deeds points. At that moment, I stood among the moaning gangsters, blood still dripping from my hand, staring at that line of text for a long while. Killing a drug dealer counted as good deeds? It was only then that I seriously started studying the system rules. I discovered that the system's judgment wasn't based on the action itself at all, but on its ultimate impact. Killing drug dealers is saving lives, leading brothers onto the right path is saving lives, and donating money is even more so saving lives. The path is wide. From then on, I began to frantically accumulate good deeds, leading my brothers into legitimate businesses. Good deeds plus 500. Donated 5 million to a welfare home. Good deeds plus 5,000. Physical fitness, strength, speed, and spirit all increased. The body movement and power techniques from master level Xingyi Quan, combined with these attributes, meant that in the whole Tun Mun, few could still face me head on. Putting aside the matter of the system, there is a bigger issue before me now. Uncle Bo was about to retire. Uncle Bo was over 50, had been the top boss in Tun Mun for over a decade. In recent years, his health had been poor, and he had long stopped handling matters much. There were only 2 people in Tun Mun who could really fight. One was me, and the other was a guy named Dinosaur. As for Dinosaur, he wasn't as strong as me, but he was smarter than my previous foolish state. He controlled 6 streets and had over 300 men under him. Most importantly, he had a powerful older brother, Benny Tiger Hanbin, the top boss of Kwai Tsing district. Who was Hanbin? He was the most capable fighter among the 12 leaders of Hung Hing. He had money and men, was both intelligent and brave, low-key and patient. He had good relations with all the district leaders. Even Jiang Tiansheng, the dragon head, acted like his brother on the surface but was secretly wary of him. If Kong Long were allowed to take over Tun Mun, Hanbin's influence would become too great. Jiang Tiansheng would be the first to lose sleep over it. So Uncle Bo preferred me instead. That day, Uncle Bo called Kong Long and me to a tea house. The tea house was Uncle Bo's own place. It wasn't big, but it was nice and quiet. I spruced myself up before heading out. I changed into clean clothes, clipped a brick phone onto my belt. Before I left, Allah asked if I wanted to bring some in. I said no, I'd go alone. When I got to the tea house, Kong Long was already there, with a dozen of his thugs standing at the door, a black mass of them, as if afraid no one would know he had backup. I walked in empty-handed, greeted Uncle Bo respectfully first, then sat down. Kong Long eyed me sideways. Ah, Dong came alone? How shabby. I just smiled, picked up the tea Uncle Bo poured for me, and took a sip. Brother Kong Long, it's just a tea with Uncle Bo bringing so many people. Are you doubting Uncle Bo? Still scared of dying, huh? Kong Long slammed the table, about to flip out, but Uncle Bo reached out to stop him and said to me, Dong, I feel you've changed a lot lately. I pointed to my own head and said half jokingly, got hit here a while back, smarten up a bit. Uncle Bo gave a faint smile. He disliked Kong Long for a long time. This guy was used to being domineering, showing no respect for an old boss like him. In contrast, after I transmigrated here, I knew well the importance of status and honor. Since Uncle Bo had seniority, I gave him plenty of face. After a few rounds, Uncle Bo's gaze toward me grew warmer. Kong Long got impatient and directly asked Uncle Bo what was going on. Uncle Bo didn't beat around the bush. He said he'd step down in a week and would recommend the two of us at the Hongxing meeting. As for who would take over, it was up to each one's ability. Kong Long came right at me on the spot. He said he joined 4 years before me and told me not to compete with him. I put down my teacup and slowly replied, joining early doesn't mean much, it's mainly about ability. I joined 5 years ago and led the brothers to take 4 streets. In terms of ability and strength, I'm not inferior to you in any way. Why can't I compete for the top spot? Dinosaur curled his lip, stood up, and slammed the door as he left. Uncle Bo watched his retreating figure, his old face twisted with displeasure. He snorted and said Dinosaur was almost 30 and still so immature. I smiled and said, well, he has got a good brother, so he can afford to be cocky. Uncle Bo patted my shoulder. He said something straight from the heart. Precisely because Benny the Tiger was too strong, no one wanted Dinosaur to take over, including Mr. Jiang. Dong, do you understand? I said, Uncle Bo, I've read Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Uncle Bo paused for a second, then burst into laughter. He tapped my head with his finger and said, kid, you've really gotten a lot smarter. Back at the Glory Bar, my trusted man, Ah Hua, rushed in, frantic. This Ah Hua had a face that could make him a movie star, but when it came to throwing punches, he never hesitated. He was the brother I trusted most. Dong, trouble S brewing. Shen Dong from Dongxing is gathering his men, and it looks like we're the target. I frowned. Shen Dong was the top enforcer under Smiling Tiger of Dongxing, managing a whole busy street S operations. We'd had a few run-ins before, but it never escalated to an all-out war. This time, suddenly picking a fight with me, there must be something behind it. Is the intel reliable? Reliable. 2 of our guys are watching. I stood up and made a decisive plan. Ahua, take 100 men to Sangdong's turf and plant our flag. Ahua froze. If I take 100 men, what about you? Sangdong has at least 300 men. Sangdong means nothing to me. Just do it. Ahua gritted his teeth, turned and went to gather the crew. Half an hour later, the brothers were assembled. Ahua led them away quietly. I stood at the bar entrance with 100 brothers behind me, each holding a machete, all stone-faced and silent. The streetlights cast a dim yellow glow, and the wind carried a damp, salty sea smell. The residents on these few streets must have heard the rumors. Doors and windows were shut tight, not even a dog dared to bark. Chaotic footsteps echoed from a distance, growing closer and denser. Sangdong's men had arrived. A sea of them filled the street from end to end. Over 300 people packed the whole block. Shen Dong stood at the front, a knife in his hand, his face so arrogant it might as well have been painted on the sky. Shen Dong, you grabbed 3 of our Dongxing streets before. If you don't give them back today, I'll make sure you leave here horizontally. I swung my machete onto my shoulder, my voice low, but every word clear. Shen Dong, cut the crap. Since you're asking for death, I'll grant your wish. Kill these Hongxing scum. Shen Dong waved his hand, and over 300 men surged forward all at once. Brothers, let these Dongxing bastards know the might of Hongxing. I charged to the front, leading the way. My machete swung, leaving a cold gleam. The master-level Xingyi Quan gave me footwork and power, while advanced marksmanship trained my reflexes and eyesight. With strength and speed far beyond normal, my blade was so fast it even scared me. 3 Dongxing lackeys rushed at me, eager to claim the first credit. In an instant, I unleashed 3 slashes. 3 screams rang out almost simultaneously. All 3 had their arms chopped off. Blood sprayed everywhere as they fell to the ground, rolling and howling. The thugs charging around me all slammed on the brakes. their faces filled with terror. Drenched in blood, I kept charging forward, and no one dared to stop me. Most of these thugs were lowlifes Shen Dong had hired for a few $100 fine for a winning battle, but when faced with someone who actually dared to kill, their legs went weak. Several dropped their knives and turned to run. Shen Dong stood behind the crowd, his face changing. He shouted for people to stop me while backing away himself. His few loyal henchmen rushed at me, but I cut them all down in one encounter. I carved through the crowd and finally reached Shen Dong. He raised his knife to block, but I brought mine down on his head. With a sharp crack, his machete was cleaved in two. The momentum of my blade carried through, embedding deep into his shoulder. Blood flowed down the spine of the knife. It nearly severed his entire arm. Shen Dong screamed and fell to his knees. Do you want to live or die? Live, I want to live. Dong Ji, don't kill me. Tell your people to drop their weapons. Shen Dong yelled at the top of his lungs. Everyone stop right now. The guys from Eastar all went quiet once they saw their boss was caught. My men behind me cheered in unison 100 against 300, and we won. This achievement is enough for them to brag about for a lifetime. I pressed the knife against Shen Dong's neck and asked him how much he was worth. Trembling, he said there was 8 million Hong Kong dollars in the safe and a KTV. I immediately called a Hua and told him to take people to search the safe. After getting the password, they opened it. 5 million Hong Kong dollars and 700,000 US dollars together, nearly 10 million. Ahua's eyes went wide. Brother Dong, we're rich. I lit a cigarette, sat on the sofa on the second floor, looked at the trembling Shen Dong, and asked him one last question. Why are you suddenly coming at me? Who told you to do this? Shen Dong knelt on the ground. Crying, he spilled everything. It was Han Bin. Han Bin gave him 3 million to trash my place. Using a borrowed knife to kill Han Bin, to get Kong Long in power. Used Dong Xing's blade to clear me, his biggest obstacle. Too bad he calculated 1,000 times, but miscalculated one thing. Shen Dong was too useless. I gave a Hua look, stood up and walked out. Behind me, Shen Dong's pleas for mercy stopped abruptly. Han Bin is the top boss of Hung Hing. Without solid proof, I can't touch him. But this debt, I, Shen Dong, will remember it. The next day, at the bar, I handed out money to the guys. Every brother who fought got 10,000 bucks. In an era when white-collar workers made 2 or 3,000 a month, the weight of that 10,000 was staggering. I dumped bundles of cash onto the table, had everyone line up to sign for their pay. It was livelier than Chinese New Year. When the brothers had all collected their money, the way they looked at me changed. It was a trust like they'd give their lives for me. They knew that following me, Shen Dong, meant having meat to eat. Ahua asked me privately about Han Bin what to do with him. I said to leave him alone for now, but sooner or later, I make him pay back every bit with interest. Uncle Bo called in the morning. Smiling Tiger came in person, with a bunch of Dongxing men sitting in Uncle Bo's tea house. His face so dark it looked ready to drip water. When I got there with my guys, Smiling Tiger was slamming the table and cursing. The moment he saw me come in, he demanded, Shen Dong, where's Shen Dong? I'm not his boss, so how would I know where he is? Did you off him? I shrugged, looking innocent. Last night, it was a chaotic mess. Blades don't have eyes. Who knows which bastard chopping down? Smiling Tiger smashed his teacup on the floor. All the Dongxing punks behind him stood up. The brothers behind me also stepped forward. Both sides were on the verge of a fight. I picked up my teacup and blew on the steam. My tone was calm and unhurried. Smiling Tiger, we're all from the underworld. Don't play games. You want to take back that street? I'll give you 2 options. First, a group fight, according to underworld rules. If you can take it within a week, the turf is yours. If not, this street will belong to the Shun family from now on. Second, a one-on-one fight. You can pick anyone. If you beat me in the ring, you take the turf. If you lose, you admit this street is mine, plus 5 million in cash. Uncle Bo's face changed, and he wanted to stop me. Smiling Tiger was already slapping the table and laughing. He probably thought I was crazy. Dongxing has plenty of fighters. Find a Muay Thai champion. It's practically a sure win. He laughed, and I laughed too. After he finished laughing, I added, 8 o'clock tonight at the Weiwu boxing gym. Be there or be square. Smiling Tiger left with his men. The tea house fell silent. Uncle Bo grabbed my hand and said anxiously, Dong, you were too rash. What if he actually finds some ruthless guy How are you going to handle that? Shen Dong said confidently. Uncle Bo, don't worry. I can't lose. At the Tunmun Wuying boxing gym. At 7:30 p.m., the gym was already packed with people. The one-on-one fight between Shen Dong and Smiling Tiger had caught the attention of many big shots in the underworld. Even Camel of the East Star and Jiang Tiansheng of the Hung Hing came to join the excitement. Brother Luo, long time no see. Mr. Jiang, I didn't expect you to be interested in this match, too. Just here to watch the fun. As for Shen Dong's plans to fight Smiling Tiger one-on-one, Jiang Tiansheng was very displeased. He had originally thought Shen Dong was a talent, but now it seemed he was nothing more than an incredibly foolish idiot. While Camel and Jiang Tiansheng were exchanging pleasantries, Benny Tiger, Han Bin, and Portland Street's 13th sister also started chatting. 13th sister glanced at Han Bin and said that was a bit too much. Han Bin knew that he couldn't hide the fact that he went to see Sang Dong from Sister 13. He spread his hands and said, I just wanted to put Dinosaur in power. I never expected things to turn out like this. Sister 13 asked, do you think Shen Dong can win? Han Bin shook his head and said, I heard that Smiling Tiger hired a man named Tian Yangsheng to come for a fight. Sister 13 asked in surprise, how come I've never heard of that name? Han Bin said, Tian Yangsheng and his 6 siblings are all mercenaries. They only arrived in Hong Kong Island yesterday. They even got into a conflict with Smiling Tiger's underlings. In the end, the 7 of them took out over 100 of Smiling Tiger's men. Smiling Tiger didn't go after them. Instead, he spent $1 million Hong Kong dollars to hire Tian Yangsheng to fight Shen Dong. Sister 13 frowned and said, damn, that's fierce. At that moment, Shen Dong led his people into the boxing ring. Everyone's eyes were on him, tall and slender in stature, with a sharp, angular face, a calm and indifferent gaze, combined with a gentle and refined temperament, made Shen Dong exude an indescribable charm. Tutin Mai exclaimed, damn, is that Shen Dong? It feels like he's a completely different person. Han Bin said he really has changed a lot. When Shen Dong became the Red Rod, Han Bin and 13 may had both seen him. He was just a fierce, reckless young man. It's only been a year. I can't believe his entire aura has changed. Shen Dong first greeted Jiang Tiansheng, then said to Smiling Tiger, where's your fighter? Smiling Tiger pointed to a cold, ice-like man behind him and said proudly, this is my fighter, Tian Yangsheng. Shen Dong, do you dare to raise the stakes? Shen Dong sized up Tian Yangsheng with interest and said, how do you want to play? Smiling Tiger said, 1 million. Shen Dong curled his lip and said, isn't your Dongxing organization rich? Playing with just $1 million is too little. How about 3 million? Winner takes all. Smiling Tiger said with a grin. Shen Dong said, fine, since you want to give me money for nothing. I'll reluctantly accept it. Soon, the referee stepped onto the boxing ring. He introduced the bets and rules of the match. At exactly 8 o'clock, Shen Dong and Tian Yangsheng stepped onto the ring. Their eyes met, and the air instantly froze. Tian Yangsheng was about to make a move, but Shen Dong made a stop gesture. He said, wait, brother, do you dare to make a bet with me? Tian Yangsheng was taken aback and said, what bet? Shen Dong said, I think highly of you. If you can beat me, I'll give you 1 million. If you lose, you come work for me. How about it? Now, my territory is much larger than before. I need many people to help. As for the abilities of Tian Yangsheng and his 6 siblings, Shen Dong was quite envious. If they could become his subordinates, then, for Shen Dong, it would definitely be like adding wings to a tiger. Tian Yangsheng said, all right, I agree. Shen Dong assumed a 3-body stance and said in a deep voice, come on. Tian Yangsheng let out a loud shout, swung his fist, and threw a punch straight at Shen Dong's face. Such speed, no wonder he is the top-tier power level in true colors. Shen Dong praised inwardly. He stepped forward half a step with his left leg and punched with his right fist, directly attacking Tian Yangsheng. It was the half-step Bung Quan from Xingyi Quan. Bang! The 2 fists collided. Tian Yangsheng's expression changed. A numbness ran through his right hand, and a great force pushed him backward. Shen Dong did not let up. With both fists, he threw more than 10 consecutive punches at Tian Yangsheng. Tian Yangsheng could only defend against Shen Dong's attacks. completely powerless. Finally, Shen Dong kicked Tian Yangsheng in the chest and sent him flying off the ring. Damn, it's over already? I thought it would last much longer. Didn't expect it to be this fast. Shen Dong is a beast. He's definitely a top-tier enforcer with skills like that. The crowd buzzed with chatter. Their eyes nearly popped out in shock. In reality, Tian Yangsheng's physical attributes were no weaker than Shen Dong's. He might even have been slightly faster. But Shen Dong was a master of Xingyi Quan, able to push his attributes to the absolute limit. Tian Yangsheng practiced military combat technique, which, by comparison, were far too crude. Plus, he hadn't expected Shen Dong to be this strong, and let his guard down, which led to such a crushing defeat. Big Dong won. Shen Dong's underlings cheered wildly. As for Smiling Tiger, he looked utterly devastated, pointing at Tian Yangsheng, who had been knocked off the ring. Cursed, you bastard. You caused me to lose face and money. Brothers, beat him to death. Upon hearing this, the Smiling Tiger's men all shouted and started walking toward Tian Yangsheng. Tian Yangsheng got up, staring at them with a cold glare. The other 6 siblings came to Tian Yangsheng's side, ready to fight to the death. Shen Dong stood on the ring and said coldly, according to the bet, Tian Yangsheng lost the fight, so he's now my subordinate. Smiling Tiger, if you dare touch a single hair on his head, I'll make sure you never leave this gym. Ahua shouted, brothers, save him. Shen Dong's men immediately surrounded Tian Yangsheng and his 6 siblings. Tian Yangsheng and his siblings felt deeply grateful to Shen Dong. The Smiling Tiger said harshly, Shen Dong, I fucking suspect you and Tian Yangsheng were fixing the match. Shen Dong laughed heartily and said, Smiling Tiger, you really have some nerve. All right, if you think I'm not strong enough, then come up here and try me yourself, if you can last 2 minutes. The 8 million and territory you lost to me will all be yours. But if you can't hold on, then your life will stay on this ring. Smiling Tiger, you got the guts? Smiling Tiger didn't dare step onto the ring. He snapped, I'm the Hall Master of Dongxing. You're just a red pole from Hongxing. What right do you have to fight me? Shen Dong sneered, I figured you wouldn't have the balls. Below the stage, Jiang Tianxing looked at Camel. He said with a smile, Brother Luo, what do you say? Camel said in a deep voice, I'll weigh, if you lose, you take it. Dongxing can't let outsiders mock us for breaking the rules of the underworld. Smiling Tiger shot Shen Dong a fierce glare and said, Yes, boss. Camel looked at Shen Dong and said, Young man, you've got some real skill. Shen Dong smiled, Brother Luo flatters me. Hongxing is full of talents. Shen Dong, am not much. Soon, Smiling Tiger left 8 million and followed Camel as he left. Jiang Tianxing patted Shen Dong on the shoulder and said, Dong, not bad. I have high hopes for you. Shen Dong quickly replied, Thank you, Mr. Jiang. Having obtained a bustling commercial street from the East Star, Shen Dong's position as the boss of Tunmun was absolutely secure. Just then, Chen Yao received a phone call. His face suddenly changed dramatically. He rushed over to Jiang Tianxing and said, Mr. Jiang, something happened in Simsha Sui. Jiang Tianxing asked, What's wrong? Chen Yao said, Enai Kuan is dead. Jiang Tianxing's pupils contracted sharply. Enai Kuan's Triad Society was one of the top gangs in Hong Kong Island. Its influence spread across the entire city. His death, whether to the underworld or the lawful world, was no less than a major earthquake. Shen Dong, standing nearby, seemed thoughtful. The inside story of Enai Kuan's murder. No one knew better than Shen Dong. The question was how to use this inside information to get what he wanted. That was something he needed to think over carefully. After Jiang Tianxing left, Shen Dong said to Tian Yangsheng, Are you a man of your word? Tian Yangsheng called out. Brother Dong, Tian Yangyi, and the other 5 exchanged glances and said in unison, Brother Dong. Shen Dong said happily, Good. From today on, you guys will follow me. Tian Yangyin, the only woman among them, said, Brother Dong, I need to take Big Brother to the hospital. Shen Dong handed 300,000 to Tian Yangyin and said, After his injuries are treated, find a place to stay for now. As long as you work hard, within a year, I promise you'll all have homes. Tian Yangyin said gratefully, Thank you, Brother Dong. Shen Dong said, Go on. Watching the backs of the 7 as they left, Hanbin said, Congratulations. Dong, they're all talented people. Shen Dong laughed and said they're all part of Hung Hing now. Same to you, Han Bin said. Let's find a place to have a drink to celebrate. How about it? Shen Dong nodded. Of course, great. My treat, Sister 13 said. Can I join too? Shen Dong smiled and said, it would be my honor. Soon, the three sat down in a bar. Shen Dong looked at Han Bin and smiled. Brother Bin, do you have some grudge with Shen Dong? Han Bin was taken aback and said, what do you mean? Shen Dong said. Before he died, he was still trying to sow discord between us. He said you paid him to cause trouble for me. Ridiculous. Han Bin took a sip of wine. He said, Dong, the matter with Shen Dong was my fault. Shen Dong never expected Han Bin to admit this personally. A flash of surprise crossed his eyes. He said, it really was you? Han Bin said, Dinosaur is my own brother. I hope he can rise to power. So I arranged for Shen Dong. As soon as these words were spoken, the air around seemed to freeze. Shen Dong's sharp gaze fixed on Han Bin. He said, Brother Bin, I want compensation. Han Bin said solemnly, 20 million as an apology to you, and to buy the position of Tun Min's boss at the same time. What do you think? Tutin Mai exclaimed. Han Bin, you're crazy. In this era, 20 million was by no means a small amount. It could even buy a luxurious villa. Shen Dong thought to himself, this Han Bin really does a smuggling business. He's damn rich. Han Bin said, I'm not crazy. Hung Hing has 12 branches. Tun Min is Dinosaur's best chance. If he loses this opportunity, it's basically impossible for him to rise again. But a Dong is different. With his skills, he'll still have plenty of opportunities in the future. Shen Dong smiled and said, Brother Bin, you really overestimate me. Han Bin shook his head and said, these eyes of mine rarely misjudge people. Among the entire younger generation of Hung Hing, I have my eye on two people. One is you, the other is Chun Haonan. Now I'm even more optimistic about you. A small place like Tun Mun can't stop your rise. Shen Dong said, then I'll thank Brother Bin for his appreciation. To be honest, I'm not particularly interested in being the boss of Tun Mun. Pulling out of this election isn't a problem, but 2 million is too little. Han Bin frowned and said, how much do you want? Shen Dong said, Brother Bin, I know you have a garment factory in Tun Mun that specializes in women's clothing. There are quite a few skilled workers in there. I'm very interested in that factory. Han Bin heard this and immediately felt relieved. He picked up his wine glass and said, 2 million plus this garment factory. In exchange for you not running for the position of Tun Mun boss. A bright smile appeared on Shen Dong's face. He said, deal. The two clinked their glasses together. The agreement was reached. Han Bin asked curiously, Dong, what do you need a garment factory for? That factory's annual profit is only a few $100,000. Shen Dong said, my territory now covers 5 streets. Business on 3 of those streets isn't doing well. I plan to rent some storefronts, specializing in women's clothing. Han Bin said, some storefronts? Then you'll need different styles of women's clothing. Shen Dong nodded and said, exactly. Once the clothing business is on track, I'll also start selling leather shoes and bags. After being in a gang for so long, I've realized that just being tough isn't enough. The most important thing is money. With money, I can go further. Sister 13 gave a thumbs up, saying, Dong, you've got brains. Once the clothing store opens, I'll definitely bring the sisters from Portland Street to support you. Shen Dong smiled and said, thank you. The next day, Han Bin personally delivered 20 million to Shen Dong. Then he took him to the clothing factory in Tun Mun. A lawyer drafted an agreement for the two of them. After each signed their names, the clothing factory became Shen Dong's. Han Bin pointed at an old man in his 60s. He said, Dong, this is the factory manager, Uncle Fook. He's been a tailor for over 40 years. Uncle Fook, this is Shen Dong. From now on, the factory belongs to him. Shen Dong extended his hand. He said, Uncle Fook, hello. Hello, Boss Shen. Uncle Fook shook his hand. After exchanging greetings, Han Bin left. Uncle Fook gave Shen Dong a tour of the factory. The entire clothing factory was very large. It covered up to 30,000 square meters. More than 500 workers were in various workshops. They could produce 8,000 pieces of clothing every day. Shen Dong picked up a dress. He examined it closely. He said, Uncle Fook, the quality of these clothes is good, but the styles are a bit outdated. I plan to keep up with fashion trends. make styles more similar to those of big brands. What do you think? Uncle Fu said, technically, there's no problem, but it would involve copyright infringement. Shen Dong laughed and said, we won't put their trademarks on them. We can also slightly change the appearance and colors of the clothes. As long as they look similar, it's fine. Uncle Fu nodded and said, if that's the case, we can give it a try. Shen Dong said, Uncle Fu, if this matter is successfully handled, I'll give you a 10% share of the profits. As the saying goes, money moves people's hearts. If you want others to work hard for you, you must give them benefits. Bosses who only make demands without offering real benefits are all fools. Shen Dong understood this principle well. Sure enough, Uncle Fu's eyes lit up. He said, I will do my best. That afternoon, Shen Dong had his subordinates buy a variety of branded women's clothing. It cost him over 100,000. Uncle Fu had more than 20 designers copy the designs like drawing a gourd from a template. Soon, they designed over 100 pieces of clothing in similar styles. If you didn't look closely, it's impossible to tell them apart from branded women's clothing. At the same time, Shen Dong rented 10 shops at once in his own territory, following the style of a future clothing store. He found a company to handle the renovations. As for these matters, Shen Dong didn't bother with them anymore. He left everything to the professionals. At a nightclub in Tunman, Shen Dong looked at Fei Ji and Jimmy standing before him. He asked with a smile, what are your specialties? Since he gained quite a bit more turf, Shen Dong had recruited over 200 more people to watch the venues. What he hadn't expected was that Fei Ji and Jimmy, two top enforcers from the Walin Sun triad in the movies, had actually come to him. So Shen Dong immediately had Awa bring the two over. Jimmy pursed his lips and said, Brother Dong, I'm very interested in doing business. I can handle slashing too, said Fei Ji. I'm only good at slashing people. Shen Dong laughed. He said, good. You me. Fei Ji, I'm giving you two a task. If you do it well, not only can you get a reward of 10,000, but I will also promote you. Jimmy's eyes lit up. He said, Brother Dong, please instruct us. Shen Dong waved his hand and said, Norus, when the time comes, I'll come find you. Sit down and have a drink. Fei Ji and Jimmy said in unison, yes, Brother Dong. They drank for a while. Shen Dong asket, Awa. Have you finished recruiting? Recruiting is done. 230 people in total. Awa. I plan to have Sheng and his 7 siblings conduct 1 month of military-style training for all the brothers in rotation, to teach them some practical fighting techniques. What do you think? I'm afraid this might cause resentment among the brothers. What if we give a reward of 3,000 Hong Kong dollars to those who complete the training? 3,000 Hong Kong dollars a month. Then they'll definitely have no problem. But boss, we already have over 400 brothers now. 3,000 each, that's over 1,200,000. It doesn't matter. As for the money, I'll cover it personally. The training location will be at the Hongyun Garment Factory. Let them train while watching the factory 100 at a time, rotating back and forth. Okay, Brother Dong, as Ahua expected, when they heard the news about rotating training, everyone expressed dissatisfaction. But when they heard there would be a reward of $3,000 for a month of training, they immediately rushed to sign up. For the low-level gangsters in the society, 3,000 Hong Kong dollars was absolutely a huge sum. Shen Dong summoned Tian Yangsheng and said, Yangsheng, have Yang, Yi, and the others follow the mercenary training model and train them properly. My requirements are not high. Let them learn some practical knife techniques and then know how to cooperate in a melee. Tian Yangsheng nodded and said, understood. Shen Dong said, you don't need to go with them. From now on, you'll be my personal bodyguard. Tian Yangsheng said, okay, Brother Dong. Shen Dong stood up and said, let's go. We're heading to Central. At the entrance of the bar, Shen Dong handed the car keys to Tian Yangsheng. It was a brand new Toyota sedan. Shen Dong had just driven it back yesterday. Besides that, he also got one for the head steward, Awa. At the same time, he bought over a dozen vans. All these cars were smuggled in. The price wasn't high. Shen Dong managed it all with just 800,000. At the Hung Hing headquarters in Central, Shen Dong led Tian Yangsheng into the meeting room. This was where Hung Hing held its general meetings. At the moment, the leaders of each branch hadn't arrived yet. But Kong Long, DeFei, and Chun Haonan, all 3 Red Pole enforcers had come. DeFei laughed heartily and said, Dong, you're something else, kid. You actually managed to take down Shen Dong's territory in one go. Looks like this time, the position of Tunmun's leader is yours. Shen Dong replied, how could that be? With Brother Kong Long in Tunmun, I definitely have no chance. DeFei was taken aback and said, Dong, what do you mean by this? Shen Dong said, I sincerely hope Brother Dinosaur can become the leader of Tunmun. As for me, I'll wait until later. Dinosaur laughed and said, Dong, don't worry when the opportunity comes. I'll definitely support your rise to power. Shen Dong said, then thank you, Brother Dinosaur. Hey, what are you guys talking about? Don't forget, our brother Nin also has the qualifications to compete for the Tunmun leader. Chicken, who was behind Shin Haonan, said with dissatisfaction. Dinosaur frowned and said, Nan, keep your own men in line. When the big brothers are talking, where does he get the right to interrupt? Chicken said angrily, what do you mean by that? Dinosaur slammed the table. He said, do you even know the hierarchy of respect? He knows jack shit. A hoarse voice came over. Everyone looked over and saw Liang Kun swaggering in with a few of his men. The kid from Causeway Bay was taught all the wrong things by Big B. A few words here and they're nothing. It's lucky you didn't get cut. Pretty Kun said. Dinosaur snorted. Said, depends on whether he's got the guts. These kids nowadays, they're really something else. You. Chicken was about to retort. Shen Haonan grabbed him. Said, Chicken, you step outside first. Chicken said, Nan brother. They gone too far. Shen Dong said calmly. Chicken, anyone qualified to speak here. Has to be at least a red pole. You're still young. Work hard. Maybe next year you can sit here. Pretty Kun said disdainfully. Dong, you think too highly of him. Average skills, big temper. And a womanizer. A guy like that will never amount to much. Chicken flew into a rage. Pointing at Pretty Kun, he shouted angrily. Pretty Kun, what did you say? Pretty Kun glared back. He said sternly, I'm talking to you. Punk. Just then Bigby walked in. He said, Kun, Chicken is my man. You have no right to bully him. Liang Kun sneered. As expected, when the upper beam is crooked, the lower ones are twisted. Bigby, you'd better have someone teach him some manners. Bigby said, I think the one who needs to learn manners most is you. A boss who only knows how to bully his underlings all day. You're a disgrace to Hung Hing. Liang Kun said, among the 12 branches of Hung Hing, in terms of ability and strength, you, Big B, rank at the bottom. If it weren't for Mr. Zhang's help back then, you'd still be washing cars now. Big B was naturally hot-tempered and irritable. Hearing Liang Kun's words, he was instantly so furious that smoke seemed to pour from his 7 orifices. Liang Kun, you motherfucker want to fight? Is that right? Big B's underlings gathered around him, glaring angrily at Liang Kun. Liang Kun's underlings were not to be outdone. They stepped forward directly. The two sides pushed each other, shoving back and forth. Causing trouble, oi. So lively, I thought another gang had invaded our headquarters. The bosses from the other districts walked in one after another. Seeing this situation, they all started making sarcastic remarks. Each of them wore an expression of enjoying the spectacle, not caring if things got worse. Big B and Liang Kun naturally couldn't fight now. After a while, Jiang Tiansheng arrived. The meeting began. Chen Yao briefly summarized the situation of Hongxing over the past month. He specifically praised Shen Dong. After the introduction, Jiang Tiansheng said, Uncle Bo is old. He wants to retire. We need to choose a new boss for Tunmun. Does anyone have suggestions? Big B immediately chimed in. Mr. Jiang, Haonan has been with Hongxing for 10 years. He has made significant contributions to the society. I propose that Haonan be the new boss of Tunmun. Liang Kun said disdainfully. Big B, are you joking? There are 2 red poles inside Tunmun. Not choosing from among them. Instead, insisting on transferring a red pole from Causeway Bay to take over as the boss. Do you think the younger brothers in Tunmun will accept that? And besides, when it comes to contributions, can Chan Honam compare to a Dong? The 5 streets a Dong now controls were all taken by sheer force. By merit, a Dong is the one who most deserves to be the Tunmun boss. Bigby said, a Dong is good, but Honam isn't far behind. Sister 13 smiled and said, I propose Dinosaur. He's been with Uncle Bo for over 10 years. If Tunmun is prosperous today, Dinosaur deserves the most credit. Uncle Bo, don't you agree? Uncle Bo nodded and said, Dinosaur has indeed helped me a lot. Chanyu seemed surprised that Uncle Bo said that. He said, Uncle Bo, are you recommending Dinosaur to be the Toon boss? Uncle Bo said, yes. Upon hearing this, everyone turned to look at Shen Dong. Shen Dong's expression remained calm. It was as if he hadn't heard Uncle Bo's words. The deal between him and Han Bin. No fourth person knew about it except 13th sister. Even Kong Long was kept in the dark. The reason Uncle Bo supported Kong Long was that he first called Shen Dong. Shen Dong personally told him that he did not want to run for election. Only then did Uncle Bo choose Kong Long. Han Bin said, when recommending a worthy person, one should not avoid citing a relative. Brother Ji, who had already accepted the money, chimed in, I choose Kong Long. Kong Long is indeed good. Rewarding according to merit, it should be his turn. Fatty Li raised his hand and said, I choose Kong Long. Among the 12 branches, 5 branch leaders chose Kong Long. It could basically be said that victory was assured. Although Jiang Tiansheng had been maintaining a smile, in his heart, he was already furious. As the leader of Hung Hing, his management style was balance, not letting any single faction become too powerful. Han Bin was in the smuggling business. He had both money and manpower, being close to several leaders like 13 Mei and Diyu. If we add his own younger brother Kong Long, then Han Bin's power would be even greater. This is what Jiang Tiansheng doesn't want to see. He gave a signal to Chun Yao with his eyes. Just as Chun Yao was about to speak, Diyu, the boss of Kuntong District, said, I also support Kong Long. Uncle Xing from Kowloon City District laughed and said, Kong Long? Liang Kuan saw how the situation had developed and immediately said, I support Kong Long. All 8 branches chose Kong Long. Jiang Tiansheng had no other choice. In the end, Kong Long became the new boss of Toon Mun. Uncle Bo stood up, patted Kong Long on the shoulder, and said, Kong Long, do a good job. Kong Long said respectfully, Thank you, Uncle Bo. I will not let you down. After Uncle Bo left, Kong Long sat in his seat with great satisfaction. The meeting ended, and Shen Dong, amid everyone's surprised looks, congratulated Dinosaur, then left with Tian Yangsheng. On the way back, Tian Yangsheng couldn't help but ask, Brother Dong, your abilities and contributions far surpass Dinosaur's. Why don't you become the top boss of Toon Mun? Shen Dong smiled and said, There are 3 factions in Toon Mun. 1 is me, 2 is Dinosaur, and 3 is Uncle Bo. Even if I became the top boss of Toon Mun, I would only gain a title. The actual benefits aren't much. It's nowhere near the 20 million and a garment factory that Han Bin gave me. Besides, if you want to be the top boss, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. No need to fight over Toon Mun. Tian Yangsheng suddenly understood and said, So that's how it is. Shen Dong said softly, Sheng, remember this. In the future, it's a world of money. The old ways of fighting and killing won't work anymore. Money is the measure of everything. When one day, we possess wealth in the hundreds of millions, then who would dare to call us small-time thugs? Tian Yangsheng nodded, without saying anything further. After the news spread that Dinosaur had become the leader of Toon Mun, Shen Dong's underlings were all very dissatisfied. In terms of contributions, Dinosaur was merely maintaining the status quo, while Shen Dong was the one who truly expanded their territory. In comparison, Shen Dong was more deserving of being the leader of Toon Mun. Shen Dong personally stepped forward to give them a lesson in ideological education. Only then did the situation calm down, similar to the movie Infernal Affairs. The plot was the same. After Ni Kuan died, Ni Yongxiao stepped up. By making just a few phone calls, he managed to handle the 4 major family retainers. After the Ni family settled down, Shen Dong began his robbery plan. Hey, Sister Mary. Hello. In front of a public phone booth, Shen Dong called Mary, Han Chen's wife. Mary, in her office, picked up the phone, frowned and said, Who is this? Shen Dong said, I'm just a nobody. Mary said, What do you want from me? Shen Dong said straightforwardly, I want 30 million. Mary sneered, Are you crazy? Coming to me for money. Do you know who I am? Shen Dong said, I do. You're the mastermind behind Ni Kuan's murder. Boom. As soon as Shen Dong said this, it was like a thunderclap, ringing in Mary's ears. What nonsense are you talking? Mary said sternly. Shen Dong smiled. Sister Mary, don't be nervous. I just want 30 million. As long as you give me the money. I promise I won't tell anyone about you and Officer Huang plotting to kill an icon. Oh, I almost forgot. And that little undercover agent about to enter the police academy. Future Officer Liu. Hearing the names Officer Huang and Officer Liu, Mary's face instantly turned pale. Her eyes were full of fear. She was well aware that once an Ai Yongxiao found out about this, not only would the three of them die, but it would also implicate Han Shun. After a long silence, Mary said, "How do I know you won't expose me after you get the money? You have no choice but to trust me. 30 million is too large a sum. I need a week to raise it." Sister Mary, don't joke. Everyone in Hong Kong knows. The biggest cash flows have never been from businessmen, but from you drug-selling gangsters. Tonight at 8, bring a black briefcase with 30 million Hong Kong dollars to Central Shopping Plaza. If you try any tricks, then don't blame me for going to an Ai Yongxiao to do business. I believe he'll be willing to pay more for this information. Fine, I agree. I hope you keep your word. You can rest assured on that. Oh, and give me a mobile number. I'll contact you then. After getting Mary's contact information, Shen Dong hung up the phone. Whistling, he arrived at his own bar. Plain and Jimmy, who had been waiting there, immediately stood up and greeted him. Shen Dong led the two into a private room. He said, "Plain Jimmy, help me with something." Jimmy said, "Dong go." "What is it?" Shen Dong took out a photo. "This is Mary, Han Chen's wife. Tonight, she'll be carrying a black briefcase to Central Shopping Plaza. Go and retrieve it for me. Remember, don't let her see your faces. And don't expose yourselves. Can you do it?" Jimmy and Plain said in unison. "Yes." Shen Dong said, "After it's done, Jimmy will manage my clothing store, and Plain will collect protection fees." "Thanks, Dong." At 8 in the evening, Mary, carrying a black briefcase, arrived at a bench outside Central Shopping Plaza, waiting for Shen Dong's call. After about 15 minutes, Mary's big brick phone rang. After the call connected, a deep voice reached her ears. "Hand the suitcase to that old man picking up trash." With that, the other party hung up. Mary glanced around. Her gaze stopped on the old man, who was grinning at her. The old man walked up to Mary. He said, "Miss, someone told me to take the box." Mary's face darkened. She handed the suitcase to him. The old man took the suitcase, turned around, and left, walking to a dark corner. A man wearing a mask gave the old man 300 yuan. He took the suitcase, then got into a taxi. After the taxi left, a black car followed it. The driver was a man in his 30s, sharp-eyed and serious expression. It was Inspector Huang Jiqing. After Mary received Shen Dong's extortion call, she thought for a long time, then still told Huang Jiqing about it. Huang Jiqing was also very nervous. He knew very well that once the matter leaked out, an Ai Yongxiao of the triads will never let him off. The two discussed for a long time, finally decided that Mary would pay. Wang Qixing followed, but what he didn't expect was that his movements were all observed by Jimmy. It turned out that the one wearing a hood and taking the money was Feiji. The one who just called Mary was Jimmy. Jimmy walked in the phone booth, dialed Mary's number again. "How dare you? You dare to have someone follow me?" Mary's face changed. She quickly said, "I didn't." Jimmy sneered, "Black sedan. The last 2 digits of the license plate are 36. Sister Mary, congratulations. You've successfully angered me." Mary said, "Don't misunderstand." Jimmy said in a deep voice, "No misunderstanding. You need to do 2 things now. First, immediately have the other party stop the car. Second, before 12 o'clock tomorrow morning, donate 5 million to the Hong Kong Island Children's Charity Fund. If you can't do it, then don't blame me for being rude." After saying that, Jimmy didn't wait for Mary to reply. He hung up the phone directly. Mary's face turned extremely ugly. She immediately called Huang Jiqing. "Officer Huang, stop following. What's wrong? They even know your license plate number. If you keep following, you'll completely anger them. What do we do now? He wants you to stop, and for me to donate 5 million tomorrow as punishment." "What does he mean? Why make you donate?" "I don't know. As long as he doesn't expose the matter, it's fine." "Got it." An hour later, Feiji and Jimmy returned to Shen Dong's bar. Shen Dong took the briefcase. He didn't open it directly. Instead, he asked, "What's the situation?" Jimmy said, "Dong go. You really are a master of predictions." Mary did indeed have someone tailing Feiji. "Following your instructions, I told her to donate 5 million to the children's fund tomorrow morning." Shen Dong said, "Were you seen?" Feiji and Jimmy said in unison. Absolutely not. Shen Dong nodded with satisfaction, took out 60,000 from a drawer, and said, 30,000 each. Get out, Fei Ji asked in surprise. Brother Dong, didn't you say it was 10,000? Shen Dong said, the extra 20,000 is for you to settle your families. Fei Ji and Jimmy heard this, and grateful expressions appeared on their faces. They said in unison, thank you, Brother Dong. After the two left, Shen Dong opened the briefcase. Inside were stacks of crisp new bills. He counted them exactly 30 million. These drug dealers are fucking rich. Shen Dong put the money away, wondering secretly how much Merit Mary's 5 million charitable donation would bring him. Inside a hotel room, Huang Ziqing and Mary's faces were extremely grim. Mary slammed the table hard and said, who the hell knows about our business? Losing 35 million in 2 days. Mary didn't know how to explain to Han Chun. Huang Ziqing said, from the other side's actions, it seemed like they were only after money. So we should be safe for now. Mary said angrily, as long as they hold this over us, we'll never have a moment's peace. Do you have any ideas? Huang Ziqing said thoughtfully, we need to take down Ni Yongxiao as soon as possible. Once he's out of the picture, we'll be safe. Mary said, I'll help gather evidence against the Ni family. Huang Ziqing asked, aren't you going to tell Han Chun? Without his help, it'll be hard for us to bring down the Ni family. Very hard. Mary said, I'll tell him when the time is right. I will. The next day, Mary anonymously donated 5 million Hong Kong dollars to the Hong Kong Children's Charity Fund, making headlines in all the major newspapers. Shen Dong opened his attribute panel. Damn, his merit points had directly skyrocketed to 20,000. Shen Dong kept 10,000 and exchanged the remaining 15,000 merit points for attribute points. Name, Shen Dong merit points. 5,500 Constitution, 15 Strength, 15 Speed, 15 Spirit, 15 Skill, Master Level Xingyi Quan, Advanced Marksmanship, Intermediate Driving. Shen Dong discovered a secret of the system. The higher the attribute points, the more merit points were required. From 13 to 14 points, it only took 3,000 merit points. But from 14 to 15 points, it required 5,000 merit points. The same single point, yet such a vast difference. One could imagine what would happen after 20 points. Inside the boxing gym, to test his own strength, Shen Dong fought with Tian Yangsheng in the ring. Tian Yangsheng used 80% of his power, but in front of Shen Dong, both strength and speed were clearly suppressed. Sheng, don't hold back. Attack me with all your strength. Okay. Tian Yangsheng also felt that the gap between him and Shen Dong seemed a bit large. So he went all out. Punching, kicking, elbowing, knee strikes. Tian Yangsheng pushed his abilities to the limit. Shen Dong countered every move, blocking and parrying firmly. He made every attack by Tian Yangsheng futile. During the fight, Shen Dong understood the role of each attribute. Physique represents defense. Strength represents attack power. Speed represents evasion and attack speed. Spirit represents reaction time. Tian Yangsheng's speed was already unimaginably fast to ordinary people. But in the eyes of Shen Dong, who had reached 15 points in spirit, it was no different from an ordinary person. After unleashing 48 punches and 32 kicks consecutively, Tian Yangsheng helplessly raised his hand, saying, Brother Dong, I concede. Shen Dong smiled and said, how about it? Convinced now? Tian Yangsheng gasped for breath, replying, completely convinced. During the last boxing match, I thought we weren't far apart. Now I realize you were going easy on me on purpose. Shen Dong patted him on the shoulder, saying, your skills are already quite impressive. Among the gangs in Hong Kong, he ranks in the top 20. Tian Yangsheng was taken aback and said, only top 20, Brother Dong? Are there many powerful fighters in these gangs? Shen Dong nodded and said, Prince of Hongxing, Lien Haolong of Zhongxinyi, Luo Dianhong, Wan Bao, Aji, a Wu of the number gang, none of them are weaker than you. However, as times have progressed, no matter how high your martial arts skill, it can't beat a gun. So, now is the era of money, the era of guns. Enough of this talk. Fei Ji, dare to go on stage and play? Fei Ji, who originally wanted to fight Shen Dong, shook his head frantically. Brother Dong, you're too strong. I won't seek a beating. Fei Ji had fought Tian Yangsheng before. In less than a minute, he was knocked down 3 times. And Shen Dong, only defending, not attacking, had forced Tian Yangsheng to admit defeat. How could Fei Ji dare to go up? Shen Dong chuckled. You have good physical fitness. Train boxing properly with Asheng from now on. Within 3 years, he would surely become a top-tier master. Fei Ji Dao, I will work hard. Leaving the boxing gym, Shen Dong headed to the clothing factory. He observed his men's training. Although they had only practiced for a week, their spirit and demeanor compared to before had improved significantly. Learning that Shen Dong had arrived, Uncle Fu immediately came out to greet him. Shen Dong asked Uncle Fu, how many clothes are in the warehouse now? Uncle Fu said, about 300 pieces per style. Shen Dong said, take me to see them. Entering the warehouse, Shen Dong randomly checked clothes of several brands. Compared to famous brand clothing, both in style and texture, they were essentially similar. Shen Dong was very satisfied with this. After returning, Shen Dong had someone take some photos, made them into flyers, and had his underlings start a large-scale promotion. Time flew by, half a month passed. Shen Dong's 10 stores opened. The head store manager was Jimmy. All 9 branch managers and staff were female. Jimmy was left speechless. Adong, congratulations. Brother Bin, thank you for coming to support. Adong, see that? I brought dozens of pretty girls from Portland Street to cheer you on. Loyal enough, right? Sister 13, thank you so much. If you ever need anything, come to me. I'll go through fire and water for you. Apart from Han Bin and Sister 13, the other hall masters didn't come, but they all sent gifts to express their congratulations. At 9 o'clock sharp, firecrackers crackled and popped. Jimmy held a microphone and shouted to the crowd, thank you all for coming. Today, any customer who buys clothes to change into in this store will get a 30% discount. If the total amount exceeds 1,000 Hong Kong dollars, we will also give you a $100 shopping voucher. When you come to the store in the future, this voucher will be equivalent to 100 Hong Kong dollars in cash. Now, please come into the store. 10 clothing stores opened their doors simultaneously. Countless girls walked in 2s and 3s. Wow, the decoration here is so beautiful. So many clothes. This dress is similar to the one I saw at Bailey Fashion last time, but the price is half the cost. Even though they're different brands, these clothes are really pretty. The fabric feels good too. 240 yuan, 30% off makes it 168 yuan. Very affordable. All 10 stores were packed. The busy staff and cashiers didn't even have time to drink water. Seeing this bustling scene, Tutin Mai glanced at Han Bin and said, the garment factory didn't even make a splash under your management. But under Dong's hands, it's become this popular. Brother Bin, what do you think about that? Han Bin said, a new generation replaces the old. Shen Dong smiled and said, Brother Bin, don't make fun of me. Compared to your business, this is just a small venture. At 10 p.m., Jimmy came in with the bill, reporting to Shen Dong, Brother Dong. We sold 16,000 pieces of clothing today. Total revenue was 283,500 yuan. Shen Dong took a drag on his cigarette and asked, what's the profit? 186,000 yuan. Jimmy was a bit excited, never imagining that these 10 women's clothing stores could be so profitable. Shen Dong said, in the first few days, everyone finds it fresh, so business will be better. Later on, it's estimated to drop significantly, but 3 million a month is still achievable. Jimmy said, 3 million is just the most conservative estimate. Shen Dong smiled. It's just a small amount of money. No need to get so excited. Jimmy, from now on, you're in charge of the clothing factory and stores. Jimmy nodded firmly and said, no problem. In the following days, the 10 clothing stores remained booming, with profits even exceeding 200,000 yuan at their peak. Soon, everyone found out. There was a street in Tunman, specializing in women's clothing with quality and style similar to branded clothes, but at half the price. It was a huge hit for a week. The clothing store then entered a stable phase, with daily profits around 120,000. This far exceeded Shen Dong's expectations. After the clothing business got on track, Shen Dong didn't bother with them anymore. To accumulate good karma, he visited the orphanage every 3 days or so to see the kids. One day, he bought a lot of candy and fruit and came to the orphanage. After spending time together, the children had already become good friends with Shen Dong. Seeing Shen Dong walk in, the children cheered, and surrounded him. Uncle Shen, I want some candy. I want orange flavor. Xiaomin wants apple flavor. Shen Dong smiled and said, according to age, everyone line up for me. Everyone can get 10 pieces of candy in different flavors. Yay, that's great. Long live Uncle Shen, the children shouted, while obediently lining up. Annie, who is this person? A woman in a pleated skirt asked with a hint of surprise. Granny Lee said, his name is Shen Dong. He's a very kind-hearted person. The fact that the children can now eat meat and fruit every day is all thanks to him. The woman looked at the beaming, handsome and valiant Shen Dong and said, he really is a good-hearted man. After handing out the candy, Shen Dong clapped his hands, turned his head to look over, and couldn't help but pause slightly. So beautiful. The girl before him had long, jet black hair, and her stunning face was adorned with a pair of beautiful, clear eyes. She stood there quietly, like a goddess stepping out of a painting. But her curvaceous figure added a lot of sensuality and charm. If I had to describe her in one word, it would be angelic face, devilish figure. The woman felt a bit embarrassed by Shen Dong's fiery gaze. Her cheeks flushed slightly, and she quickly turned her head away. Ah Dong, you're here again. Grandma Li greeted with a smile. Shen Dong said, just hanging around. Came to see these little guys. Grandma Li, who's this beauty? Grandma Li said, let me introduce you. This is my niece, Li Xin. She's a middle school teacher. What do you think? Pretty, isn't she? Shen Dong's heart stirred. Could this be the Xin who had a one-night stand with Chen Haonan in the movie? Li Xin extended her hand first and said, Mr. Shen, hello. Shen Dong snapped back to reality and shook hands with her. Shen Dong said, sorry. You're so beautiful. I was a bit distracted. Li Xin was taken aback, then smiled. Mr. Shen, you flatter me. Shen Dong said, I'm not flattering you. As the ancients said, a smile can topple a city, and another smile can topple a kingdom. That must be referring to you, Miss Li. Li Xin's face reddened even more. It's not as good as you say, she said. Aunt Li looked at the two of them and teased, Ah Dong. Do you like my Xin? Shen Dong said straightforwardly. Aunt Li continued, let me tell you, the men who want to chase Xin can line up from Tunmun to Tsim Sha Sui. You'd better step up your game. Li Xin said coyly. Auntie, what are you talking about? Only chocolate. She winked at Shen Dong and said, I'll go check the kitchen. You two stay for lunch today. How about it? Shen Dong asked. Sure, Li Xin nodded as well. Just then, 4 men walked in from outside. Is this the Star Welfare Home? Granny Li said, yes. Can I help you? The man said, we're here to deliver a freezer. Granny Li said in surprise. I didn't order. Shen Dong interrupted her. Granny Li. He said, I ordered this for our welfare home. It can be used to store things from now on. Granny Li said, a freezer isn't cheap. A Dong, you should take it home for your own use. Shen Dong smiled and said, how could a big tycoon like me not have a freezer? Granny, please accept it. It's all for the children. Granny Li's eyes reddened. She said, a Dong, thank you. Shen Dong quickly said, please don't cry. I'm not afraid of anything, but I'm afraid of this. Granny Li was amused by him. Li Xin's gaze towards Shen Dong was completely different. Her eyes were full of respect. Granny Li directed 4 men to place the freezer in the kitchen. The 2 chefs were overjoyed. They had wanted a freezer for a long time, but they couldn't afford it. Li Xin asked curiously, Mr. Shen, what do you do? You seem to be very wealthy. Shen Dong shrugged and said, don't call me Mr. Shen. You're probably younger than me. Just call me Brother Dong. That's what my underlings call me. Underlings? Li Xin exclaimed. You're a gang leader? Shen Dong spread his arms and said with a smile, don't I look like one? Li Xin said, I think you look more like a teacher. Shen Dong laughed heartily. Shen Dong said, then your judgment isn't very good. Li Xin said, since you're a gang leader, why do you do so much for the orphanage? Shen Dong retorted, does being a gang leader make you a bad person? Can't you do something good for once? Li Xin said, but I heard that those gangsters, apart from slashing and bullying people, they never do anything good. Shen Dong said, you're wrong. Every group has both good and bad people. The underworld is no different. The police are like that, and so are your teachers. Li Xin said, that's true. Brother Dong, can you tell me your story? I'm really interested. Shen Dong said, do you know that a woman's curiosity about a man is the beginning of her falling for him? Li Xinxin said, "Didn't you say you like me? If I fall for you, isn't that a good thing for you?" Shen Dong said, "That's true." In the movie, Li Xinxin really hated gangsters. Shen Dong knew that too, but he didn't hide it. Xinxin, I've been trying to run legitimate businesses. But once you enter the underworld, it's the underworld for life. I can't get out even if I want to. The reason I do good deeds is just to seek peace of mind." When he said this, a trace of sorrow flickered in Shen Dong's eyes. Li Xinxin said, "Brother Dong, you've come this far. It's really not easy." Shen Dong chuckled. "Just being alive is good. I now have hundreds of younger brothers, managing dozens of bars. Kate versas I'm freaking awesome kropka. The only thing missing is a girlfriend. How about it? Think about me." Li Xinxin's face turned red. She said, "I shouldn't have chatted with you. You're too bad." Shen Dong said smugly, "Bad boys are loved by women." Hearing this, Li Xinxin laughed charmingly. After having a meal at the welfare home, Shen Dong pressed on, taking Li Xinxin to watch a movie and go shopping. Until 9 o'clock in the evening, Shen Dong then sent Li Xinxin back to her school dormitory. By now, the two could already hold hands. The distance to becoming boyfriend and girlfriend was just one step away. "Wow, so many clothes." "Xinxin, are you in love?" her roommate, Zhao Aili, exclaimed. Li Xinxin said shyly, "Not at all." Zhao Aili replied, "Deny it all you want, but look at your face. It's as red as a big apple." Li Xinxin pouted, "Don't talk nonsense. We haven't confirmed our relationship yet." Zhao Aili asked curiously, "Who is he?" Li Xinxin thought for a moment and said, "He's a humorous and witty, gentle yet assertively charming handsome guy. I do have some feelings for him." Zhao Aili slapped her forehead and said, "Oh no, the school goddess has fallen in love. I bet many teachers and classmates will be disappointed." Li Xinxin gave her a playful hit and said, "Oh, shut up." Shen Dong, having just sent Li Xinxin back to school, was about to head home to rest when he suddenly received a call from Ahua. "Boss, someone's been selling powder in our bar." "Who?" "It's a lackey of Mad Dog, the right-hand man of Guahua from the Triad." "Got it. I'll be right over." After hanging up, Shen Dong immediately pulled up all the information he had on Guahua. The Ni family of the Triad was one of the biggest drug lords in Hong Kong Island. They had 5 hall masters under them. They were Han Chun, Guahua, Black Ghost, Gandhi, and Wenzhong. The Ni family's business was huge. Its influence spread across the entire city. It could be said they had all the money they wanted and all the people they needed. Even Han Chin's wife, Mary, could pull together 35 million in a single day. That just goes to show how wealthy they were. Guahua's turf was mainly in Tsuen Wan, Kwai Tsing, and Sham Shui Pa. Now Mad Dog's lackeys suddenly showed up at his own club to peddle their goods. It was clear they were testing the waters. The only question is whether this was at the behest of Mad Dog or at Guahua's instruction. If it's the latter, then it means Guahua wants to stake a claim in Tunman. That would be a big deal. When they arrived at the bar, Shen Dong saw Mad Dog's underling. By then, he had already been beaten bloody. Shen Dong lit a cigarette, blowing smoke rings. As he asked, "What's your name?" "Asi. Who sent you to sell powder on my turf?" "My boss, Mad Dog." "Besides you, who else?" "Fat Cat, Long Boy, and others. They only came to my turf." "Is that so?" "Damn it." Shen Dong pointed at his own face and said, "Ahua, do I look like some pushover to you?" Ahua laughed. "Of course not. We're tigers, Brother Dong. Fat Cat, Long Boy, and the rest have all been arrested. The boys are bringing them here now." Shen Dong asked, "How many?" Ahua said, 8. Shen Dong said, 500,000 each. "Tell Mad Dog to bring 4 million to pick up his men. Otherwise, I'll drown them all in the river." Ahua nodded and said, "Okay." After a while, the other 7 were brought up. They knelt on the ground. After Ahua finished the call, he said to Shen Dong, "Dong Ge, Mad Dog is coming right away." From his tone, it seems he doesn't want to pay. Shen Dong said coldly, "If he doesn't want to pay, then let Guahua pay." Ahua rallied the men. Ahua said, "Understood." Half an hour later, over 300 brothers gathered outside the bar. Among them were the 100 who had been in military training. It must be said their morale was indeed stronger than the other 300. Each held a cleaver. They stood there, steady as mountains. Shen Dong was very satisfied. He patted Tian Yangyi on the shoulder. "Dao Ai, you and your siblings are training well. Tianyang said, Brother Dong, you flatter me. They're still far from the standard of mercenaries. Shen Dong smiled and said, This is Hong Kong Island, not a battlefield. No need to be too harsh. Tianyang nodded. He said, Yes, Brother Dong. At that moment, 3 large trucks and more than 10 vans drove over in a mighty procession. After the vehicles stopped, a large group of thugs holding prop weapons came out of the cars. The leader was a man wearing a gold chain. With a head of blonde hair, he looked quite disgusting. There are only wrongly given names. No wrongly given nicknames. This Mad Dog really does look like a yellow-haired dog. Shen Dong said calmly. Mad Dog, right? Mad Dog looked Shen Dong up and down and asked, Where are my men? Shen Dong waved his hand. The crowd parted, and 8 drug addicts were kneeling on the ground. Shen Dong's 8 men stood behind them, holding knives. Shen Dong said, I'll ask you just one thing. Did you bring money? No money. Then I'll take their lives. Mad Dog said angrily, You dare? Shen Dong waved his hand. The underling on the far left slit the drug dealer's throat with a knife. Blood sprayed violently. Thud! The drug dealer's body fell to the ground, killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Shen Dong wanted to use this brutal method to deter anyone from selling drugs on his turf. The effect was obviously very good. Mad Dog's underlings were in an uproar. Many of them even turned pale. Her eyes were full of fear. Mad Dog said angrily, Motherfucker! Are you fucking asking for death? Brothers, cut them down. Kill. The thugs brandished their machetes. They charged forward. Shen Dong waved his hand. Ahua shouted, Kill. The 2 groups clashed in a fierce fight. Shen Dong lit a cigarette, blowing smoke rings. As he said, Sheng, this Mad Dog is very important. I want him alive, Tian Yangsheng said coldly. Yes, Brother Dong. Bang. A single punch sent a thug flying. Tian Yangsheng snatched a knife and charged straight at Mad Dog in the crowd. It must be said that Mad Dog's men were quite formidable, but when facing Shen Dong's underlings, they were still far inferior, especially those 100 men who had undergone military training. Some gathered in groups of 3, others in groups of 5. They were unstoppable, killing gods if gods stood in their way, and killing Buddhas if Buddhas blocked them. Their blade techniques were just a few repetitive moves, but they were incredibly sharp and effective. In less than 5 minutes, the situation had completely turned in Shen Dong's favor. Retreat. Mad Dog was terrified. He shouted and ran back. But it was too late. Tian Yangsheng had already rushed in front of him. Bang, bang, bang. 3 continuous punches. Mad Dog was knocked unconscious on the ground. The thugs around wanted to save their boss. But seeing Tian Yangsheng's murderous face, no one dared to make a move. They let Tian Yangsheng drag Mad Dog's body to Shen Dong's presence. Shen Dong's ears twitched slightly and said, Sheng, the police are here. Take this Mad Dog away first. I need to know the exact location of Guohua Powder Factory. Kill those drug-selling bastards. This would bring Shen Dong a lot of good karma. Shen Dong was very curious how much good karma destroying a powder factory would bring him. Tian Yangsheng said, Okay. Donggu, Shen Dong said. Ahua, tell the brothers to run. Let as many escape as possible. For those caught, let the lawyer handle it tomorrow. Yes, Donggu. Ahua blew a disbanding whistle. The thugs immediately scattered in all directions. Soon, police cars arrived. Shen Dong smiled slightly, walked into the bar, and put down his weapon. Everyone down on the ground. Drop your weapons. All of you get down. Shen Dong's men had all run off, but most of Mad Dog's men were captured. Most of them were slashed and injured, unable to flee. Li Xian, senior inspector of the Tun Mun Organized Crime and Triad Bureau, looked around and frowned. These are all Mad Dog's men. Where are Shen Dong's men? His deputy Luo Lindong reported. Not a single one. Li Xian was taken aback and said, Damn, they're that tough? This is a complete rout. Luo Lindong asked, Should we go after Shen Dong? Li Xian's eyes widened, and he said, How can we arrest him without evidence? Take these people back first. They came to pick a fight and got beaten to a pulp. How shameful, Luo Lindong said. Yes, sir. While the police were cleaning up the scene, Li Xian walked into the bar with 2 officers. The customers in the bar had long been chased away. Except for Shen Dong and Ahua, who were sitting there drinking. There was no one else. Li Xian walked over. He said, Dong, can we talk? Shen Dong smiled and said, Of course. Sir Li, please have a seat. Li Xian sat down opposite Shen Dong. He said, I've been in the serious crime unit for less than 3 days. And you already know about me. It seems you have sharp ears and eyes. Shen Dong poured Li Xian a glass of wine. He said, Sir Li, you flatter me. You're a former police undercover agent, so you know people like us very well. That's why I dared not avoid investigating you. I hope you don't mind. Li Xian lauga fartili. He said, You're quite straightforward. Shen Dong said, Sir Li, is there something you need from me? Li Xian asked, How are you dealing with the people outside? Shen Dong deliberately pretended not to know. He said, What's going on outside? Li Xian let out a snort, laughed, and said, Your acting is pretty good. What a waste that you're not an actor. Shen Dong said, In the future, I will definitely invest in movies. Don't worry, perhaps one day, you might even see me star in a film at the cinema. I'm looking forward to that day too. Li Xian shrugged, his expression suddenly turning serious. He stared intently at Shen Dong, saying, Dong, last time it was Sang Dong. This time it's Mad Dog. Each fight involved hundreds of people. This is a very serious problem. I don't want a third time. Shen Dong chuckled. Inspector Li, if it weren't for your police force's incompetence, allowing the public order in Hong Kong to become like this, I would never have joined Hung Hing. Like Awahi just wanted to run a small business back then. He worked hard for a week, but ended up being beaten half to death by the E-Star guys. His money was also stolen. He reported it to you police. And what happened? The culprit wasn't found. The money wasn't found either. And because he reported it, Awa got beaten up again. If I hadn't happened to see him lying on the road, he'd be pushing up daisies by now. Li sir, you don't want social unrest. And neither do I. But the biggest problem is that you cops just aren't cutting it. Li Xian was left momentarily speechless by Shen Dong's barrage. Indeed, the number of thugs in Hong Kong Island was around 600,000 or 700,000. If Li Xian claimed the police were doing a great job, even he would blush a little. I believe everything will get better. Shen Dong gave a cold chuckle. Then let's talk when it does. Li Xian gave Shen Dong a long, hard look. Dong, I'll remember you. Shen Dong said, You should remember Dinosaur. He's the big boss of Tunmun. Li Xian said, But compared to him, you're the more dangerous one. With that, Li Xian turned and left. The drink Shen Dong had poured for him, he didn't touch a single drop. The next day, news of Shen Dong's conflict with Mad Dog spread through the underworld. Chen Yao immediately called Shen Dong to ask about the specifics. Shen Dong briefly explained. Chen Yao asked, Where's Mad Dog? Shen Dong said, He's in my hands. Chen Yao said, Dong. Hand him over to Mr. Jiang. The triads are no ordinary gang. It's safer to let Mr. Jiang handle the negotiations. Shen Dong laughed and said, Brother Yao, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Shen Yao was silent for a moment, then said, All right, I understand. After hanging up, Shen Dong took Ahua to KTV Splendor. This KTV was originally under Sang Dong's name. Now it had become Shen Dong's prize. He handed it over to Feiji to manage. Entering a private room, Shen Dong looked at Mad Dog, who had been beaten beyond recognition. He asked the Shang Feiji, How is it? Feiji put down the iron rod, said, Your mouth is stubborn, you won't talk even if it kills you. Mad Dog lifted his head and spat out a mouthful of blood. Said, Shen Dong, you wait. Brother Guohua won't let you off. Shen Dong laughed and said, Will he let me off? I don't know, but I definitely won't let you off. Mad Dog, have you heard of a human pig? Mad Dog had no idea what a human pig was. Said, Less nonsense. You want me to betray Brother Guohua? Dream on. Shen Dong shook his head. Said, Ignorance is truly terrifying. The human pig is a kind of torture from ancient times. First, they gouge out your eyes. Then they cut off your arms and legs. Then they cut off your tongue, your nose and ears, and finally they put you in a wine jar, making you unable to live, unable to die, enduring inhuman suffering day after day. Mad Dog's expression changed. Bluffing, he said, You dare? Shen Dong said, I don't want to say this, but since you won't cooperate, I have no choice but to apologize. Feiji gouged out his eyes. Feiji pulled out a dagger, slowly approaching Mad Dog's left eye. Watching the dagger draw closer and closer, Mad Dog was terrified out of his wits. His mental defenses finally crumbled. He begged, Stop. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything. Tian Yangsheng looked at Shen Dong. Shen Dong waved his hand and smiled. Give him a chance. Speak. Where's Guohua's drug processing factory? Mad Dog pursed his lips. Said Kowloon Walled City. Underground the Amang Auto Repair Shop. Shen Dong asked, how many people are inside? How do you distribute the drugs? Mad Dog said, there are 30 to 40 production staff and over 20 guards. The dealers pick up the product from a cave about 2 kilometers away. Guohua goes to collect payments at the end of every month. Shen Dong nodded and said, do you want to live? Mad Dog asked. Shen Dong asked, how much money do you have to buy your life? Mad Dog understood Shen Dong's meaning. He said, I have 2 million. Shen Dong scoffed. Only 2 million? That won't do. You'll have to die. Mad Dog quickly said, no. I still have over 3 million from selling powder. Together, it's over 5 million. Shen Dong stood up. Ahua, take note. Send someone to collect the money. If he's not lying, let him go. Ayuya no did. Yes. He left the private room. Shen Dong said softly to Fei Ji, Mad Dog can't live. Fei Ji said, Dong Gu, rest assured. I'll handle it cleanly. At noon, while Shen Dong was eating, Ahua entered carrying a box. Dong Gu, a total of 5,300,000. It's all in here. Shen Dong told Ahua to sit down. Let's eat together. Ahua didn't stand on ceremony. He sat directly across from Shen Dong, picked up chopsticks, and started eating. Shen Dong said, Sang Dong has tens of millions. Mad Dog has over 5 million. These drug dealers sure are rich. Ahua said softly, Dong Gu, you're not thinking of selling drugs, are you? Shen Dong laughed. I was just making an observation. Doing the kind of business will leave you with no good end. Ahua felt relieved. Said Dong Gu is right. After eating, Shen Dong picked up the box. Opened it to take a look. Said, Ahua, it's been 2 years since you've been with me, right? Ahua said, 2 years and 4 months. Shen Dong asked, how do you think I've treated you? Ahua said seriously, your kindness is as heavy as a mountain. Bullshit. Shen Dong said, you've been my housekeeper for so long, and yet I still let you and your grandma live in that rundown house. To be honest, I feel guilty about it. With that, Shen Dong took 2 million from the box. Put it in a bag. Buy a new house. Get the old lady settled properly. Ahua stood up, his face full of shock. Said, Brother Dong, this is too much. Shen Dong shot him a fierce glare. Said, if I tell you to take it, take it. If you don't listen, get the hell out. Ahua's eyes reddened with emotion. He felt a deep sense of devotion, as one would die for a friend. He put away the money and bowed to Shen Dong. Said, thank you, Brother Dong. Shen Dong waved his hand and said, remember, this is for settling your grandma. If you dare to use it for anything else, I'll break your legs. Ahua said, understood. When I have time, I'll find a house. Shen Dong smiled and said, go on, get busy. As soon as Ahua left, Shen Dong received a call from Shi San Mei. Dong, are you busy? Just finished lunch. Shi San Mei, any instructions? You're so impressive now. How would I dare to give you orders? Dong, Guohua wants to invite you for tea on Portland Street. I'll be right there. You trust me that much? Of course. If I can't trust 13th sister, whose sense of honor reaches the skies, then who else can I trust? An hour later, Shen Dong brought Tian Yangsheng and Fei Ji to Portland Street. At a tea house, they met 13th sister and Guohua. 13th sister said, Dong, come and try some of my tea house's finest pu'er. Shen Dong sat down beside 13th sister. He smiled and said, then I really must have a taste. If it's good, you'll have to let me take some back. 13th sister said generously, I'll give you 10 kilograms. Shen Dong took a sip of tea, nodded, and said, it's really good. Forget the 10 kilograms. I can't drink that much. 2 pounds is enough for a year. They exchanged a few jokes. 13th sister said, Dong, this is Guohua, the hall master of the Triad Society. Guohua asked arrogantly, Dong, where are my men? Shen Dong knew perfectly well, but asked anyway. Who do you mean? He said. Bang. Guohua slammed the table. Don't play dumb with me. Where's Mad Dog? Hand him over to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Shen Dong smiled and said, sorry, I'm afraid you won't be seeing him. Guohua said sharply, what do you mean? Shen Dong replied unhurriedly. Fei Ji, you tell him. Where is Mad Dog? Fei Ji said, Mad Dog is in the sea. He should be eaten by sharks by now. Guohua flew into a rage. He stood up, pointing at Shen Dong's face. You dare touch my men? Shen Dong said calmly. Mad Dog dared to sell powder in my turf. If he doesn't die, how can I continue to operate? 13th sister said, a dong. Don't joke around, Shen Dong said. I never joke. Guohua was so angry that he laughed. Good. Very good. Shen Dong, just you wait. I'll bring people to Tunmun to find you. Shen Dong nodded and said, welcome. Guohua stormed off angrily. Senmei said helplessly, a dong. Guohua has 2,000 to 3,000 men under him. You shouldn't have offended him for the sake of a mad dog. Shen Dong said confidently. Wrong, Senmei. To be precise, he shouldn't have offended me. Shi Zhangmei was left speechless. She said, be careful. I heard the Ni family has a team of assassins. Not many, but each one is extremely skilled. Shen Dong thought back to Infernal Affairs, the movie about the deaths of the 4 gang leaders. He nodded and said, thanks. I'll be careful. Taking the tea, leave Senmei gave him. Shen Dong left Portland Street. On the way back, Fei Ji said, Dong Gu, are we going to war with Guohua? Shen Dong nodded and said, pretty much. I'm almost certain now. That mad dog selling powder on our turf was Guohua's order. His aim was to plant a flag on my ground. Killing Mad Dog gave him just the excuse he needed to make a move. Fei Ji said excitedly, finally, a chance to show what I've got. Shen Dong said, they have 2,000 or 3,000 men. At best, we got 400. Aren't you scared? Fei Ji asked. Not at all. The more the merrier. Shen Dong grinned and clapped Fei Ji on the shoulder. You got guts, kid. Just then, the car suddenly stopped. Tian Yangsheng said, Dong Gu. Looks like they're filming a movie up ahead. The road's blocked. Filming. Shen Dong rolled down the window. Looking out, he saw a crowd of people craning their necks to look up at something. They were all holding fan signs. Some read, Long Way, I love you, and similar slogans. Long Way. Shen Dong felt the scene was oddly familiar. After thinking for a moment, it finally clicked. Wasn't this from a Hong Kong film in his past life? Mouse Courage, Dragon Might 2. The plot of action star Long Way jumping off a building. A sharp glint flashed in Li Jie and Shen Dong's eyes. You find a place to park. I'm going to check out the commotion. Got it, Brother Dong. I'll protect you. Shen Dong smiled. No need in Hong Kong. No one should be able to hurt me. Indeed, after taking down the mad dog, Shen Dong obtained another 10,000 good deeds. He added all his good deeds to his spirit, although it only increased by a little. His neural reactions were much faster than before. Not to mention ordinary thugs. Even the top marksman couldn't hope to harm him, because once Shen Dong was aimed at, his sharp spiritual sense would immediately give a dangerous warning, and his movement speed was enough for him to dodge bullets with ease. 10 minutes later, amid the fan screams, Long Way's stunt double Li Jie leaped from the rooftop. After landing on the mat, Li Jie was surrounded by the crew. Taking advantage of this moment, Long Way and Li Jie swapped positions. Li Jie slipped out of the crowd. Just as he was about to leave, a voice rang out. A special forces soldier at the rank of captain comes to work as a stunt double and bodyguard for a celebrity. Mr. Li, don't you think it's a pity? Li Jie's whole body trembled violently. Turning his head, he saw a tall, handsome man smiling at him. It was Shen Dong. Who are you? Who I am is not important. What matters is that you need to know who said those words. Li Jie asked excitedly. You know? Shen Dong said. Let's have a cup of coffee together. How about it? Li Jie nodded. He said, okay. The two walked into the coffee shop. Shen Dong ordered 2 cups of coffee. Li Jie asked impatiently. Who is that person? Shen Dong said calmly. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Shen Dong. I'm a red pole in Hung Hing. I make a living in Tunmun. Li Jie said, Brother Dong. Hello, Shen Dong said. The person you're looking for goes by the nickname The Doctor. He's the leader of a terrorist organization. His motto is one must rely on oneself. Li Jie's eyes blazed with sharp light. He said yes. That's the phrase. I've been looking for him for 3 years. Today, finally, I have a lead. Brother Dong, where is he? Shen Dong shrugged and said, somewhere in Southeast Asia. I'm not sure of the exact location either. Li Jie, let's make a deal. Within 2 years, I'll find a doctor. Help you get revenge. In return, you'll keep working for me. After 5 years, I'll give you your freedom. Li Jie was silent for a moment. He said, I won't do bad things. Shen Dong smiled and said, what do you consider bad things? Li Jie said without hesitation. Prostitution, gambling, and drugs, Shen Dong said. I won't touch prostitution and drugs. Gambling, not necessarily, but I promise you, even if I do get into gambling, it will be legal gambling. Li Jian nodded and said, then that's no problem. Brother Dong, please take care of me from now on. Another capable general recruited. Shen Dong was very pleased. He said, no need for such polite words. Don't say them, Li Jie. Do you have any discharge, comrades? I'm short of hands here. Li Jie was silent for a moment. He said, there have been many discharged veterans in recent years. How many people do you need? I can ask around for you. Shen Dong said, more than 50 people, less than 100. The requirements, courage, good skills. If they are willing to come, I can give each of them a settling and allowance of 20,000 Hong Kong dollars. The monthly basic salary is 3,000 Hong Kong dollars. I will handle the relevant documents for them. In the mid-1980s, for ordinary people in the inland, being a 10,000 yuan household was already a huge deal. Shen Dong offered a relocation fee of 20,000 Hong Kong dollars. For those soldiers who were struggling in life, it was definitely a huge temptation. Li Jian nodded and said, all right, I understand. Shen Dong pulled out 20,000 from his pocket and handed it to Li Jie, saying, take care of the current situation first. Come find me tomorrow at the Xiong Hao Bar in Tunmun. Li Jie didn't stand on ceremony and directly put the money away. The two had some coffee together. Just as they were about to leave, a sexy, hot-bodied beauty burst in with a photographer. Seeing Li Jie, the beauty's face lit up with surprise. You're Lung Wei's stunt double, right? No need to say it. This beauty must be Lu Huijin. She must have found out that Lung Wei used a stunt double, so she chased after him all the way here. Li Jie frowned and said, I'm Lung Wei's bodyguard, not a body double. Lu Huijin said triumphantly, stop it. I saw it all through the camera. After landing, Long Wei sneaked into the crowd and swapped you out. You saw wrong, Li Jie said. Impossible, Louisin said. Sir, didn't you see it too? Shen Dong ignored her. He said to Li Jie, I'm leaving first. With that, Shen Dong turned to leave. Unexpectedly, Lu Huijin stretched out both arms, blocking his path. You haven't answered my question yet, she said. Shen Dong said calmly. Then I'll answer you now. I didn't see anything. Impossible, Louisin said. He just crawled out from inside, and you brought him straight to the cafe. How could you not have seen? Maybe my eyesight isn't too good, Shen Dong said. Miss, could you please step aside? Who are you calling miss? Lu Huijin said angrily. Shen Dong sighed, suddenly extended 2 fingers, aimed at Lu Huijin's eyes. Lu Huijin let out a scream, quickly covering her eyes. Taking advantage of this moment, Shen Dong moved like the wind, sweeping past her, striding out the door with big steps. Lu Huijin shouted, attacking a defenseless woman. Are you even a man? Li Jie said calmly. You can take your hands off now. He's already gone. Lu Huijin removed her hands. And indeed, Shen Dong was nowhere to be seen. Who is he? I must put this graceless bastard on TV. Let everyone know who he is. Lu Huijin said through gritted teeth. Li Jie glanced at her, said nothing, and drifted past her. Hey, don't go. I still have questions for you. Lu Huijin quickly chased after him. That evening, Guohua spread word on the streets that he was going to take out Hung Hing's Shen Dong. A single stone stirred up 1,000 ripples. If before, Shen Dong taking out Sang Dong and Mad Dog had made him a little-known figure, then now, after Guohua's outburst, he instantly became the focus of the underworld.